Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me today. I realize that I'm competing with Steve McMahon, and if I had the choice, I would actually be over listening to him, but because he is such a fantastic person who knows so much about what we do in so many different levels, not just the development side of it, but also the personal side. My presentation is really, as you can tell by the title, it's focused on people who are more like me, which is that your development capabilities are severely limited by the fact that you are involved in a lot of other projects and things that you're responsible for. And so a little bit about myself. I've been working in Plone since 2008. The sum total of my contributions to the Plone core or Plone product development is 0. I have participated in some sprints, and they're fantastic, as Liz was telling us a few minutes ago. I had a fantastic time at the sprint last year at Penn State. But in terms of being able to actually, it's not that I don't want to, it's that there are just too many other things that I have to do to even develop the sites that I have. So this talk is about what you can do with Plone out of the box. And it's about a person who has a lot of responsibilities and yet still they want to get a certain number of things done, and how Plone is your very best friend to do that. So let's get started. I'll give you a little bit more introduction about myself. This is my agenda. This is what a list of sample of what I have to look at every day of stuff that I have to do. We've got things here that I provide for faculty. There are things that I do, just general maintenance. The stuff at the very bottom of the list, I'll just tell you that it's very rare for something to make it out of infrastructure development or even training and development up into the other higher tiers where things actually get done. It's because this is the agenda that's written down. This doesn't include the agenda of stuff that gets put on my desk early in the morning by the person who comes into my office with something that they need. This is what I need. I need to maintain this website. Right, this is the non-logged in version. I need to have events. Now, if you look there, the coming up is pretty slim because it's summertime. There's nothing happening at the Pop Center in the summertime. However, I do want to remind people that at the end of the summer, they better have their presentations ready, or their abstracts have to be ready to go into the PAA meeting, which is going to happen. The PAA meeting doesn't happen until next May, but their presentation has to be accepted by the middle of September. So even in the middle of the summer, we want the faculty and grad students to know. So I have this tiny little event item that says, pay attention to this, don't forget about it. And I need to do news. So I need to cover events, I need to do news, I need to keep people aware of what people in our center are doing. And then we have these, rather lame, these pictures on the front of the page, which have been there for a year now, which really should be a slider. And I really don't have any excuse about that because the product is there. All I have to do is get it installed. So I can't really have any excuse about that. But the real excuse is that I haven't developed the content that's supposed to feed the slider, so I can't put the slider in. So that's what I need to do. That's one of many, as you saw on the agenda. And here are some of my friends. These are the people that I serve. They're the people who might come in the morning and put something on my desk, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. And this is the kind of stuff that they do. Their whole job is to make sure that faculty get the support they need to do the research in population studies that the NIH wants us to do. So they help people develop grant proposals, they figure out budgets, they do project management, and some of the staff also do event management, so they will write my events that go onto the event part of the calendar. They do news stories, so they will write up news items that need to go into the calendar or they need to go onto the website. And so I have to have a tool that's going to allow these people to do what they do without this happening. In other words, I don't want all this stuff coming to my desk. I don't want the news item to come to me and then I've got to post the news item onto the website because it'll just sit there, I'm telling you. Same thing with the events and so on. And this is the other thing I have to deal with. This is Bandy. And I'm in the 6 years now that I've been working at the Pop Center, I have found out that Bandy likes good wine, and his favorite place is to be on the top of a glacier with cleats on his feet walking around. And that's about all that I found out about Bandy in 6 years. And he's a great guy. We do talk about stuff, and we get along very well. I don't want to give the wrong impression. But the thing is, Bandy is like so many sysadmins. His mantra that it should be posted over his door is, "Don't waste my time." Right? He doesn't want you to come to him with a bunch of stuff to do. He will gladly do anything that's necessary to support the Pop Center. But as much as I can take off of his plate, I want to do that. And Plone allows me to do that. Now, I have to also thank Bandy because Bandy was the guy who pointed me to Plone. I'll talk about that in a few more minutes. So here's what I think about you, whether you're in the room or watching this on a video screen someplace. This is what I think. If you're watching this is why you're watching it. It's because you have a lot of stuff to do that's not even remotely related to web development. You don't have access to a designer, or if you do, maybe it's on a limited basis. You might know enough about development to be dangerous. And if you know a lot, you might even know that you could be dangerous, so you stay away. And your sysadmin will not openly hostile, has no time for you. I'm saying these in absolute terms. I know that it's never in absolute terms, but the fact remains. You don't want to waste people's time. You want to get it. You want to do as much as you can to hold up your end. So you do some research. And this is the research that I did while I was figuring out, because Bandy came to me one day. We were maintaining this site. It was HTML with a bunch of server-side includes. And he said, "Look, why don't you start thinking about separating your content from your formatting and stuff like that?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" He said, "Well, think about CMS." So I downloaded a Joomla site. I downloaded Drupal. I did not download WordPress, but I looked at Joomla and I was playing around with it, and I experienced this. I was trying, now this is, by the way, this is not Joomla. This is the wrong screenshot for Joomla, but it shows you what I'm talking about. Where the hell is my page? I just created this page. Where is it? Why is it not where I want it to be, which is in this part of the website? This actually is a screenshot of a WordPress website that I'm currently maintaining for another organization. And it has the same issues. And with Joomla, another thing that I noticed, one thing that I had a lot of pain with Joomla was trying to figure out how to make the portlets work. And it was like they had this esoteric, and this was years ago, right? So it's probably different now. But there was a very esoteric administrative bar with a bunch of arrows where you could move things up and down, and that would figure out where your portlet would go. And I was like, about to tear my hair out. And Bandy came to me and he said, "Look, these things that you're looking at, they're written in PHP. I said, yeah, so, I mean, PHP, that's fine. He said, no, PHP is no good. I said, what do you mean? What do you mean? PHP is a language. There's nothing wrong with PHP. He said, no, you don't understand. PHP is a scripting language, and the thing that's wrong with it is that it's easy to do things. I said, what do you mean it's easy to do things? He said, you can do what you think is right, and you won't realize that what you've just done doesn't work and it can be hacked or some other vulnerability to it. So yeah, no, I don't want to use. Why don't you try one of the things that's written in Python, like Plone? So I said, okay, I'll try Plone, and this is what I found. It looks like my computer, and I thought to myself, okay, this really works because, I mean, I know that I can sit here and I can work out how to figure out the administrative mumbo jumbo and all the stuff, but how am I going to get my friends to be able to do it? And this is intuitive for my friends. So I can point them to it and I can say, look, just open the folder, go to that folder, go inside, there's a page. If that's the folder that you want, put your page there. And I know that they're going to understand it. So to me, this is pain relief from the problem of CMS issues. It was a revelation to me, and it's been useful ever since. So let me see where I'm going with this next. Yeah. So some of the details about what makes Plone such a great solution out of the box. So remember now, we're talking about this product now without any add-ons at all. Now, when we get toward the end of the presentation, I'll talk about my favorite products and things like that. But this is, if you don't want to think about products, you just have a job to get done, this is how Plone can be helpful. Now, the one thing that struck me first off, and I don't think this is unique to Plone, but the thing that struck me first off was, I remember I'd been maintaining a site that was an HTML site. And so if you added a new page, you had to go to the sitemap section and add that page manually into the sitemap section because, it wasn't automatically done. So to me, Plone has this automatic sitemap, and I thought, wow, that's great. That just saves me so much time and energy. I can just, no sweat, out of the box it does that. So pages. I'll go through each of these as we go along. Pages, events, and a calendar. So it's not just the events, but a little widget for you. News items and collections. Yesterday, I can't remember whose presentation it was, talked about collections. They are simply fabulous. That was the guy who did the comparison between Drupal and Plone. Yeah, Ken Wasitas? Yeah. Collections are fantastic. So, and there's also an out-of-the-box workflow for intranet, extranet, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted a product where the people in my office could go in there and do stuff and have their own personal pages. And we could have our intranet within our organization where people could share stuff. And then the public pages, which was the extranet things for the anonymous browser to look at. There's also Dublin Core metadata, which is just simply to say that Plone follows the standards of the Dublin Core. And objects that are created in Plone have got those embedded and accessible out of the box. Okay, so now on pages. You get a title, you get a description, you get text, and you get a change note, and you get history. So this is all out of the box. This revisioning is automatic. There's automatically enabled revisioning in Plone out of the box. You can create a page that has a table of contents in it, or you can set that page up to automatically give you a presentation. And you don't have to add a new product for that. It's all there. You may have to play with it to get it the way to look exactly like you like, but there it is. And then, again, there's robust tagging. So you can go into the category section of a page and you can set up as extensive a list of tags and categories as is appropriate for what you're doing. So I created a little demo about this. It's not really a demo, it's just an example. Let's see here. Right, all right, so what I wanted to look at there was all right, okay, so I'll just talk right now about the sitemap since it's here. So this is the sitemap, and it shows you the website. Boy, there's a lot of stuff. And it shows you stuff. The point that I want to make about this is you're seeing a lot of stuff here that if I flip over to the other one, which is not logged in, where you don't see this stuff, right? So you see there's a difference there. And that is because the sitemap is smart. It knows that it's, or I should say, it's workflow aware, right? The sitemap is workflow aware. So if you're logged in, you see all the stuff that's on your website. But if you're not logged in, and also, depending on whether an item is private to you or accessible, visible to everyone, what you have permission to see, you can see on the sitemap. And if you're an anonymous user, you don't see any of that. You only see what public pages are out there. So that's the cool thing about sitemaps. And I think what I wanted to demonstrate with pages on history is right here. Yeah. So we have an extensive history here. And as you can see, I'm not very good at commenting because I'm the only guy who manages this site. So there aren't very many comments, but you have your choice of, deciding. Let me see if I can get a good comparison up here. Right? So you can see I made a minor change here on the award timeline. I think I might have added a new folder for the award timeline in this particular instance. It tells you what you did. It tells you if you did the wrong thing. You can go back to your history and you can decide I'm going to go and revert to this version because I made a big mistake. I added the wrong thing. I took something away that shouldn't have been there, or that really should have been there. And so you have a lot of options built in. Now, like I said, this is out of the box. You get this for free as soon as you download Plone, which, by the way, is free. Okay, so going back to my presentation. All right. All right, moving along. Okay, so collections. Collections allow you to take any object on your website, a page, an event, a news item, anything, any object that you create on your website can be collected into an ensemble and sorted in the order that you want, and then displayed. So, and you can create this as a landing page for whatever you want. So, for example, and in fact, out of the box, Plone comes with a news item set up where any news that you write, anything that you create as a news item, automatically gets captured by the news widget and gets put onto a portlet on your front page. And you can take the portlet away. It doesn't have to be there, but it's there to begin with out of the box. You have it. It's available. And the news collection is a great place to go to learn about how collections work, because the news item collection and the event item collection, both of them, are set up in such a way that you can see what the criteria are, you can see what Plone is doing to find the item, and you can see how Plone is sorting it in a certain order to get it to look the way you want it to look. So this is one of the other great things about Plone, is that you can learn a lot about how to use the product by the stuff that actually comes with the product automatically before you do anything at all. So for the demo on this, I'll take you to our utilities page here, which this is This is part of the intranet. I mean, right now our intranet is really small. and don't get me started. They're actually going to move a whole bunch of stuff onto SharePoint, which gives me heartburn, but that was not my decision. One of the things I'm jumping around here a little bit because I wanted to show something. First of all, I've set up a couple of easy click links. This is for my friends because you know that in the bad old days with Plone, when you created a new item, the title became your URL, right? And so I would have my dear friend Tiffany create an event item about a talk that somebody gave, and it would say seminar : and it would be women in the workforce : a long examination, a long title about the subject of her research, right? And that's the appropriate title, but it would turn into the URL from hell. So I did what Ken talked about yesterday, which was I created this add a news item, Plone form gen form. Okay, so now I'm jumping. This is a product. This does not come. You have to add the product in and do some tweaking. So I'm kind of cheating here. But I really wanted to show you that this is actually not at all difficult. Oh, wait a minute. I have to get to do this right. I just want to show something because there it is. This is the totality of the script that was required to create the news item. And I basically copied it and pasted it from a document that's Googleable. You can find it by doing Google search on Plone form gen data creator. I can't remember it now. I'll remember it in a minute. But you know, the actual text was actually in there. All I had to do was insert the proper field names, and this actually creates a news item on the website. And so the news items on the website, if we go and look at one, I'll cheat again here, and we just go to one of our news items, and here's my URL, you know. So it says news, it tells me what it is, and then it gives me a number, which is a time code, you know, basically whenever it was created. And, you know, that's the URL, and then here's the actual title. Now, can you imagine that title showing up as a URL, as the UID of that item? I would be embarrassed. All right, so I'm getting distracted here. All right, here's my utilities folder. And these are collections. So one of the things we have to do is we have to report every year it's mainly for marketing, but we want to report about what kind of impact our faculty research had in the community. So did any of the faculty research get picked up on newswires? Was it in the New York Times? You know, anything like this. So, you know, created this collection called Pubs 2012. And, you know, just using what comes out of the box in Plone, I can get a complete listing of all these publications. I had to play with this a little bit with some new technology that was just added into Plone and this was in 4.1, I think, or 4.0. So they didn't have the new collections yet, right? So I had to actually do some playing around to be able to find the actual name of the author, because you know that in a publication, right? So if you're doing a bibliography entry, the creator is the guy who created the entry. That's not the author. But in the author's names, in order to search the author's names, they have to be searchable in Plone, and so you have to do some magic to get that done. It took me like years to figure this out, honestly. Anyway, so here are the authors, and here are the names of their publications and the years. And then I just take this and I go through it, and create a document that ends up being published and distributed to the Association of Population Centers that talks about the kind of impact that our faculty had during the last year. Okay, all right. This is getting tedious. Let's get back to business here. Okay, so news items are great. News items come with the opportunity to add a photo and a caption. It's automatic, comes built in with Plone, very simple. Here's one that, this never got published because the person that I had working for me, the grad student that I had working for me, had English as a second language. So, in other words, it was the bottleneck. She was able to do these news stories and create these news items for me, but I was not able to translate all of these news stories into actual items on the website because I didn't have time to edit them again. So here's your basic news item. There's your title, there's your summary, there's the text that comes with it, and you have an option to add an image here. So because this is BBC, we could find the BBC logo and drop it in here. That's what I do for all the other ones. And there's an item for caption. And that's out of the box with Plone. So next we have event items. I mean, I can't say enough about event items. They're so fabulous. There is such an availability within event items to, it's a rich text field, so you can basically create an event item that's like a whole page. And not only is it a whole page with a picture or several pictures, it also gives you a resume of everything, and it allows the person to be able to take the event item and drop it into their, using VCal or iCal, they can move it to their calendar in a single click. So now when we send out we have a weekly update that we send out to faculty saying what's going on. We show the events, and I have a little button on there that says, you can add this event to your calendar in 2 clicks. Click here to find out. So click here takes them to the event item. On the event item, they press on iCal, and iCal brings it down to their web, onto their machine, and boom, it's in their calendar. Okay, so event items. Okay, the workflow of choice. I can't talk very long about workflow because it's very complicated, except to say that the out-of-the-box workflow with Plone gives you a state of unpublished, pending, and published, which is suitable for most needs. But if you're going to do an intranet, extranet kind of a setup like I have, getting that set up is as easy as going to, you don't even have to go into the ZMI to do it, you just have to go to the site setups, and you can set up a new workflow. Now, tweaking that workflow, adding or subtracting capabilities to that workflow, that's a whole other matter that you could spend a whole day talking about. But it's there, and it's highly tweakable. Okay, so we covered the sitemap already. And I'll just quickly talk about some products that I love. Plone FormGen. Plone FormGen is magic. It can do fabulous things. It can create new, it doesn't create, well, you have to be careful. It will create new content items if you have other products attached to it. But if you have a regular content item, like a news item or an event item, as I showed you, you can create a new event item or a new news item or a new page simply by using Plone FormGen and a script attached to it. Or you can simply use Plone FormGen, as I do often, just to create forms that are easily accessible to people that will send you an email message with all the content in it. I mean, this is right out of the box. I mean, there's no scripts or anything involved. You create the form, the person goes there to fill it out, you get an email message. I use it all the time on my website. It makes life so easy because the one thing that the faculty in my unit really care about, they also don't want to have their time wasted. So I can send out an email message to them and say, we have this thing that needs to be done. Just go to the website and fill out this form. It will take you 2 minutes at the very most. And they love it. They love being able to do that. And it comes with Plone out of the box. Well, no, with Plone FormGen, sorry. Keyword Manager is great because when you have categories, and especially if you've got people who have privileges to add categories, sometimes you'll get 2 categories that are exactly the same, and one is capitalized and the other one isn't. Or one is the same thing but spelled a little differently or said in 2 words instead of 1 word or something like that. So Keyword Manager allows you to trim your categories and merge them together so that you can keep your site organized. Faculty Staff Directory. It's, for us, the big question on our migration path is the next time that we migrate to our version of Plone, is Faculty Staff Directory ready to go there yet? Because we can't go there unless Faculty Staff Directory is there because we use it to manage all of our personnel. I'm not going to talk too much about it because it'd take too long. It's such a great product. I find some of these products I find useful. Collage, Content Wall Portlets, and CSS Manager. Alas, no more for CSS Manager. I think that's kind of gone belly up. But CSS Manager in Plone 3, anyway, you could use it to change your theme colors or change what logo you had. Because in Plone 3, it was really difficult to do that if you didn't have a special product. But in Plone 4, a lot of that has changed. Collage is a great product that allows you to manipulate a page in such a way as to add sections to a page. Kind of like divs, I guess, is what it really comes down to. I'm not being fair to content or to Collage. In Plone 4.3, there are some bugs to Collage that need to be fixed, which are not at all difficult. And if you want to put Collage into a 4.3, I can tell you what you need to do to get that done. Content Wall Portlets are also very useful for adding new content or new portlets to the site in places that you ordinarily were not able to do that. Products I would like to love. I would love to love Dexterity, and I would love to love Diazo. The thing about Dexterity is that it's through the web, and at the same time, you absolutely have to create a product to manage it. So you have to work on the file structure if you really want to do Dexterity well. And Diazo, well, you've got to learn rules. You've got to create an entire rule set to make Diazo work. I will get to it eventually. I will get to these things, eventually. But the fact is that given my schedule, it'll probably take me another 5 years to learn Dexterity, and by then we'll have some new thing, All right, so content rules are cool. I'm going to wrap this up as quick as I can here. Before we go to that, I'll just say, if you are new to Plone and you don't know your way around it very well, most of the people here do, but everything's URL driven, so if you end up in some esoteric part of your site and you just want to get back to, you're working in the ZMI and you're deep in the ZMI doing something and you just want to go back and see what your home page looks like, you just concatenate the URL. It takes you right back. And content rules are cool. I won't go into that with this group, but maybe I can, I can do that. 1 second. I'm simply going to show what the rules are. All right, so I have one rule that's for deactivating a faculty staff directory person. And that's because in faculty staff directory, when you deactivate a person, they stay there. They don't go away. I mean, the people who are not logged in, anonymous browsers, are not going to see that person, but I have to see the person, and I don't want to see them anymore. They're gone. They left the center. They're not with us. So I have a rule that basically when that person is deactivated, they automatically get moved to another folder, which is called inactive people. Because you don't, oh no, don't delete it. You put a lot of energy into creating that person. You had to create a bio for them. You had to figure out their bibliography. You had to work with their CV. So this just moves them to a separate folder. And it says, okay, so if the content type is a person and the workflow transition is deactivate, then do the following. Move it to this folder and then send a message to say that you did that. So that, you know, it's all very simple. And this is this rule is only assigned to this location. Actually, it's assigned to the entire site. I think I tried to assign it just to the faculty staff directory folder, and it didn't work, probably because it was going to an external folder to do the finish. I don't know. Anyway, content rules, that's a really simple example of content rules. I think in the latest Plone, they're even easier to use. They're great because they just save you a lot of work and a lot of sweat. So that's content rules out of the box with Plone. No additions, nothing. They're already with you. They're already there. So it's a great product. Okay, so Steal Good CSS. This is just a tip. I think if you notice this page here, you'll notice the way that our page looks. Right? I redid the theme about 2 years ago, and the thing that I would simply like to, oops, it's not what I want. All right, the thing that the thing that I would simply want to point out to you is if you simply look at the WebLion website here, and you see this nice little feature with the shadow. That's a CSS code which I think. No, I won't do this. Basically, I stole that from WebLion, right? I don't know CSS that well, but I saw on WebLion. Wow, that looks really cool. So I fired up Firebug in my Firefox browser, and I found out what that CSS code was around that thing, and I just put it on my site. So that's a tip for guys and gals who haven't got a lot of time. If you see a website that really looks good and you really like the look of something, steal the CSS. It's not, I mean, you can use Firebug or something to find out what it is, and you'll have to tweak it for your site. It won't be the same, but it's one way to save a lot of time. It's not what I want. There it is. All right, so here's free advice. We'll breeze through this quickly. So there's a learning curve. As with anything that is robust and worthwhile, there's a learning curve. There are just stuff that you have to learn. It's going to be true with any CMS that you use. It doesn't matter what CMS you choose, you're going to have a learning curve. So, go with Plone because at least at the end of the learning curve, you've got a product that is incredibly robust and secure. And my sysadmin Bandy would absolutely insist that you don't use PHP, but that's him. Okay. Get training with reliable professionals. So who are the reliable professionals? They're the people that are here this weekend, the people who sponsor these things. You want to support the people that support the community. That's my advice. So find them and listen to what people say. Go to the presentations and see who makes sense to you. Who are the people that are making sense? Who are the ones that speak to you? Okay, read the documentation, play around, creative destruction. So break your site, but don't break the site that's in production, okay? Break the site that's on your laptop. Break the site that's on your laptop. Get completely flummoxed and you can't figure it out. Go back to the beginning and try it again. You're going to learn. You're going to learn a lot, and you'll find out it's a lot of fun. If you're going to do training with professionals that work in our world, I say get a Mac, and that comes from the experience of going to a training with Nate Auney in Montreal in 2009 and having my good old Windows machine with me, and I could not keep up. I also saw it happen at another training at PSE a couple of years ago. By that time, I went back to my office the next week, and I said, I need a Mac to do this. And so they got me one. The same thing happened where people who were using Windows could not keep up. Okay, so I say it's controversial. It shouldn't be that way. The guy who did the training at PSE a couple of years ago said, if you have a Windows machine, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Everything will be fine. I'll work with you. It did matter. It did matter for those people. So it's my opinion. All right, so join the developer lists. You subscribe to the developer lists and the user lists, and don't say anything. Don't say anything. Go and listen. Listen to what these guys are talking about. Don't say anything because you don't know anything, okay? And don't open yourself to ridicule. They're heartless. Well, not all of them. Okay, so some of them are heartless. But anyway, what happens there is you learn. You learn what's important. You learn the things that are interesting. You learn stuff about what other people are doing. And you'll just be amazed at the incredible intelligence that's there, and how somebody can ask a question, you won't even understand what the question is, and within like half a day, somebody else has posted something, oh, just do this, this, and this. And it's like, wow, that's incredible. Okay, so when you're going to cry for help, that's when you're up against a brick wall. And seriously now, if you really are against a brick wall, and you have tried and tried and you can't solve it, if you cry for help, you will get help. And people will be glad to help you. People will be glad to help you because we're all in this together. And if you have a special case where you're working with something that's absolutely outside of the normal realm of things, people will be glad to help you. And finally, find a way to give back. It'll be, it might be a little bit hard to see, well, how can I give back to this group? I mean, I don't have any talents. I don't know how to code. But you can listen. You can be present. You can talk to people. You can be there and listen and learn. And you can offer your viewpoint. And as we learned this week at this event, newbies have value. Newbies bring a naive viewpoint. And that's actually really valuable for everybody. So ordinarily, I wouldn't put this kind of information on a slide, but I'm simply acknowledging the people who I've received training from and the people who have funded me, because I couldn't have done any of the training without the funding from my center. These are all great people. They've all done excellent work, and I've learned a lot from everybody. And then you say thank you to the people who have been your accomplices or your companions on the path. Fabulous learning opportunities. And I mentioned Martin Aspelli because he's written 2 really good books about how to really develop Plone well. If you really are serious about wanting to develop in Plone, get developing for Plone 4 and just work it. Work that book. You'll learn a lot. So I think we're out of time. But if anybody has anything to add, I'd be glad to hear it.
Anybody who wants to ask anything, we just have a couple minutes to talk with the microphone. I did want to.
Oh, do you want to use this one?
That's all right, I got it. William, you said that there was a couple of products that you were using that you liked, like Collage. And if you look at
collective.cover, I think that's kind of the new equivalent of it. So
Mm.
I'm planning to play with it
Yeah.
as well. Also for CSS Manager, I overheard, I think it was Ian Anderson saying that there are things in it that won't work with Plone 4, but if you look at Diazo, you can do a lot through that. And with Plone 4.3, the new Diazo editor, the theming editor, is amazing.
Mm.
And to your point about having to learn rules, you actually don't even need to learn the syntax. You click at two things and say, build a rule with this, and it does it for you.
Wow,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
That's
you
in Plone
mentioned
4.3.
that's Plone 4.3, yeah.
Yeah.
And then for Dexterity, I've been using Dexterity not on the file system at all, but entirely through the web. So it's worked out pretty well for the sites that I've been working with it, like a couple of sites. So give it a shot.
Okay, yeah. All right, thanks.
Any other questions for William? Okay.
Thank you,
very
everyone.
much.